a reflection on Lynn's LGBTQ history. And tonight we're doing three things. We're opening our exhibit, we are launching our website, and we're having a panel discussion. So it was just about a year ago that United Lynn Pride was on a Zoom call planning the Pride activities for 2023, and two people in that meeting spoke up. And they said, somebody should really write the LGBTQ history of Lynn for future generations. Those two people were Kirsten Frenny and Coco Allensogan. I want to thank them for suggesting this project. So next we put together an amazing project team, and they will be introduced in just a moment. But for now, I want to say thank you to Drew Darian, Pat Gazemba, and Christian Ricinos. So after that, we started recruiting some partners, and I want to thank Salem State University, the History Project, and of course, Lynn Museum. So we wrote a proposal, and we got awarded a grant. And I want to thank Mass Humanities for believing in our little project. They funded us. We reached out to the LGBTQ community in Lynn for people to be interviewed on camera. And I want to thank the 25 amazing storytellers that we interviewed. Those stories are really the heart and soul of this project. If you have a chance to look at them, please do. So next we reached out to the LGBT community for photos and t-shirts and flyers and objects. And I want to thank the 32 generous people who contributed over 700 items, mostly photographs. We went to an archive and we pulled out 5 interviews that were 40 years old. So I want to thank the History Project in Boston for that. And then we also clipped 170 news articles and made a map of 40 locations. Oops. I was squeezing the microphone too hard. Not nervous. Is it on? Yeah, okay. Okay, so we rolled that all into a website which launched this morning, and the address is on the screen.
Okay.
There we go. The address is on the screen. But we didn't stop there. Danica Thurston suggested that we could do an exhibit, and we said, well, that's not in the budget, it's not in the plan, and we don't know how to do that. And she said, trust me, we can pull this off, and we did. And Danica is amazing. So we're not done yet. Between now and August, you can help us out. You can sign up to record your story. You can contribute your photos and flyers and objects. You can write on our memories wall back there, some memories you have. You can look at our website and tell us what we missed and what we got wrong. You can help us do research. Give me your email address if you want to do some research. We're just scratching the surface here. It's such a deep history. Invite your friends to the exhibit. There's a walking tour 1 week from tonight, starting at the old Trans location. And if you know how to contact Alex Newell, Rashida Ellis, or Jack Noseworthy, let us know, because we want to interview these famous LGBTQ Lynners. So please help us out. All of this is going to go into an archive in September for future generations. And finally, I just want to thank my husband, Billy, for his support during this project. So there's some people in the audience. I believe I need to introduce. In no particular order, we have City Councilor Coco Alonso.
And for that, I want to turn to a quote by Judy Grahn, a lesbian bar-goer, an activist, a writer, an academic, and she wrote in a book, Another Mother Tongue, about coming out in the 1950s. Judy said, "We were frightened all the time, yet still we found our world exciting and wouldn't have stopped being gay for anything," end quote. The world Grahn refers to centered largely around gay bars, which she describes as, quote, "the only public expression of gay culture that I could find in a closeted world." Grahn said that, quote, "going to my first gay bar certainly felt as terrifying, mystifying, and life-altering as any ritual procedure could have felt. Patrons of the, that's the end of that quote. Patrons of the Lighthouse in Fran's Place told us the same thing later. Later, legendary activist, political powerhouse, and patron of Fran's Place and the Lighthouse, Anne McGuire, who died just this past year, would tell us the same. The Through a Rainbow Lens project was asked so many times why we did so many interviews and wrote and collected so much material from bar culture in Lynn in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. The answer to that is bar culture was it. That was our culture. LGBTQ plus culture was in the bars. There was no place else we could walk into and know there were other LGBTQ plus people there. You couldn't go to the Boston Symphony, although lots of gays were probably there, but you could come to a bar like Fran's or Joseph's or 47, and you would know you were finding gay people there. The article that Christella referred to by Janet Kahn and myself, the article was called In and Around the Lighthouse, Working Class Lesbian Bar Culture in the 50s and 60s. And a copy of that is over there in that notebook, but it's also, you can access it through our website. So please come to our website and look at that article that I'm glad was able to help Christella when she was looking for that history. Jim Moser was the one, that article was critical because Jim Moser was the one who found that article also, and Facebook messaged me and said, could he have a copy of the article because it was behind a paywall. And I said, this is Facebook Messenger, which I find a little bit iffy anyway. And I said, and then he said, oh, could I have a copy of Courting Equality, your book, our book about marriage equality. And I said, I had a feeling that he was a student trying to rope me into doing his research paper. I must say, the first time I Zoomed with him, I was relieved and gratified that he was this 60-year-old man who was very serious about this research, but I still couldn't help him to get either of the materials to him. So he's a great researcher, a great advocate for equity in Lynn, and I really thank him for all the work that he has done. So the history of how we got to, Janet and I even got to write that article, happened because of a grant that the History Project got, the History Project got in 1980. $300 grant that Anne McGuire, because she was a political activist, an LGBTQ plus advocate, and she was our great champion. And Anne went to the city of Boston and said, you need to give these people some money so they can document the LGBTQ plus community. And so with that $300, we built a slideshow called Harvest Boston Heritage. Chris remembers, we did that together. And we started showing that slideshow around. The first slideshow was in 1980, and we were, after it was over, and I should say that that slideshow was largely white, middle and upper class, binary, and male. Unfortunately, that's what we could find. That was the history that we could find at that time. But we were determined to do better.
A few comments about oral history in general. For us and for oral historians, we really have had three cornerstones: trust, representativeness, and objectivity, or at least the aspiration of objectivity. People have come forward to us to offer the most personal and intimate details of their lives. And we wanted to be clear from the very beginning that we were going to share their words with the public. We wanted to make sure that we weren't putting them in jeopardy and that they were comfortable with that prospect. In addition to that, we know that LGBTQ+ is an awfully big tent. And we were very focused on representativeness. And I'm quite proud of a good deal of the work that we've done. We've made a real effort to speak with people across the rainbow spectrum, from different generations, different racial backgrounds, different religious backgrounds, and different sexual and gender identities. I think we did a reasonably good job, but I would be naive if I said that all of these communities are equally represented. Our project will continue, as Jim mentioned, through October. I hope to conduct about 5 to 10 more interviews. So if you hear some gaps, please reach out with other stories that we can collect. And then finally, there's the question of objectivity. You might not be all that surprised to learn that our narrators have had deep and profound personal experiences and strong political opinions. And rather than impose our own politics on their interviews, we try to allow each narrator to paint their canvas as they understood it. And so what we offer to you, I think, is a kaleidoscope of experiences and perspectives, all of which should be included in this very large tent. So I want to begin with a very quick caveat, which is to say that there are a number of interviews that are included in the physical. Not all LGBTQ+ Lynners attended bars. Some people didn't drink. Some people lived in Lynn or came to Lynn at different moments in their life cycle, where they were homeowners, raising children, and that had been a previous part of their life. But clearly, the bars are places of community, resilience, and found family. And something that happened to me quite early on, maybe after my 3rd or 4th interview, is I kept thinking about a Bob Dylan song that had nothing to do with Lynn on the face of it. Has anybody ever heard of the song Brownsville Girl? It's a little bit obscure. Pastor Donna's heard it. But there's a line in that song which is not about Lynn, and it's not about LGBTQ+ people, but I think resonates deeply when you think about this community and the place that the bars played. And I just want to share from that song with you. Isn't it strange how people who suffer together have stronger connections than people who are most content? So we don't want to be overly romantic about struggle and pain and trauma, but in many ways it does bring out the best in human beings. And so the next series of interviews we're going to hear are from Blueston DeYoung, Steve the Greek, Sklavounos, Tia Cole, and Adiel Lopez. And I think in many ways each of those interviews really captures that sense of home and chosen family that was found in places like France.
All of those things. One instance I had was that an employee at Elhand had a trans individual who was struggling finding housing, and now that it got started up, they to write a letter of support. And I met that individual. I had a couple of different meetings with them to figure out their situation. Not only were they transgender, but they were also an immigrant to the United States. They were dealing with some relationship abuse, all sorts of different things, living out of their car. moving from place to place, sleeping in different parking lots. So at the end of the day, their situation needs to get sorted out in a different manner, but I think that's really one of the reasons I'm really happy to bring this to my community, because not only was that individual an immigrant, but I also didn't speak English, and I'm bilingual, and I'm very intentional about having a lot of the programming be advertised bilingual. This event, obviously none of us are speaking Spanish, but I still want people to know that these things are out there for them and that we can assist them. You know, I've grown up in Lynn my whole life, and I really think that the diversity of the city is one of our greatest strengths. I wish I knew more Cambodian and Haitian Creole than the bits and pieces I learned from friends, because then I would have the website in every language available. And yeah, I'm just very grateful, and I hope that the organization, while it's very young, continues to be received well by the community. And he is a force, not just on our board, but he's helped run campaigns. He's got an amazing garden, a lot of great stuff. So I just want to give another big shout out to Joe for assisting. And then to speak to the clip, yeah, so this is a fairly new organization. It's only been 2 years formally with the 501c3, 3 years with 1 year informally before that. And I think it's been well received. It's kind of been a mixed bag. Like Anna had said, you know, the bureaucracy is a lot of paperwork, which is a headache in itself, and facilitating events, running things at the parks, you gotta get permits, you gotta get insurance, you gotta do all of this headache kind of stuff. And then there's also sort of the internal conflicts amongst different groups, as well as external conflicts. You know, the group has been well received from the community, I think. I'm happy that it's been able to give a space to folks who didn't think that this stuff was here in Lynn. This exhibit is a big piece of that, but you know, as soon as the group got a website, it started getting its logo out there. I had people send me emails saying like, oh, I'm LGBT and I need assistance with something. I'm looking for a resource. I need help getting my partner medical care. So there's been a lot of good outreach that people were just unaware of that was in their own community. But then there's also been the negative. There have been a few people that, you know, have reached out and said, oh, you know, you're going to a bad place. And, you know, why are you doing this? You know, there's already things that, you know, you don't need to be doing this essentially. But I'm persisting, and I'm still happy to give all of these experiences to the community.